says we're live. I think we are. Hey, hey, happy Tuesday. Welcome to Tuesday Tales. Yes, I think it did it. Welcome to Tuesday Tales. Hey, how are ya? All right, so let's jump right in today. You got 20 minutes, and you and I both know that I can talk a lot. So let me just pull up the live here so I know that I'm seeing comments. When you pop on, just go ahead and say hey. Let me know you're here. Let's have a two-way conversation today, shall we? All right. So today I want to talk about energy assessments. These are things that you can do yourself. I'll stop touching the desk so you don't bounce around so much. These are things that you can do yourself. Obviously, other people can do them for you. You know, this is something that comes up occasionally in my energy sessions, and that's kind of like the point of today's live and where this all comes from. Oh my goodness, is that this is not something that I learned through my primary original certification. Okay, let's back up to where I did learn this. Okay, so I learned about energy work primarily through the emotion code and my own just odds and ends studies, right? Like heard of Reiki, got certified in emotion code. I am endlessly curious, so things come up and I go research them. I look for more information. I look for testimonials. I see how things have worked for people. I think about all the time how we can take this and apply it to horses instead of people, because everybody's out there doing energy work for people, and I'm all like, but the ponies, right? So that being said, hey, leave it. That being said, when I took my emotion code certification, one of the things that they told us was that so muscle testing, right? Muscle testing was a huge part of it. Mirrored images, Margaret, mirrored images. Watch me try and figure out which way's left and which way's right. Like, I don't have enough trouble with that in real life, not in a mirrored image. Anyway, so they taught us muscle testing. If you're unfamiliar with muscle testing, like, what are you doing? Get into the guide section of this group, and there's a whole thing on muscle testing. I believe one of our doodads, our Tuesday Tales? No, it wasn't a Tuesday Tale. It was I don't know. It might have been a Tuesday Tale, but we definitely spent a lot of time in the first intuitive healing session where we talked about muscle testing, but you can check out the guides of this group. There's an introductory there. And muscle testing is something that I teach in the intuitive equine bodywork certification program. We absolutely cover it there, because from the time that I learned it, right, when I first learned muscle testing, it was like this cool, fun thing to do. I actually initially learned it from my sister when she was becoming a naturopath. And then I learned it and really got good at it in the emotion code. And since then, I have started applying it to all areas of my life, right? So muscle testing is a foundational skill. You can learn a little something here in the group, hit up YouTube, Google, all the things. But this is something that I use all the time. So it absolutely is a part of my practice with horses, in person and otherwise, massage and energy work and all the things. Now, what we learned in the emotion code certification about muscle testing is that, I mean, our bodies are electric. I have a book, but I actually am reading it, so it's in my bedroom, but it's called The Body is Electric, because it is. So we require minerals in our body and hydration to conduct the electricity of our body, okay? And so when we're muscle testing, we're testing energetic currents. And maybe you've heard of the meridian system, maybe you've heard of the chakra system. These are all energies within the body. And when we are mineral deficient or even toxic, because if you're toxic in one mineral, you're deficient in another, they come in pairs. They have buddies. Buddy, I have to say it, like heavyweights. If y'all went to Camp Hope, would we do that? Like back in the spring? If y'all went to Camp Hope, you were there for buddies and hiya. It's heavyweights. If y'all haven't seen heavyweights, get your ass to Disney Plus. Watch You Some Heavy Weights is a classic. Anyway, this is why we need more than 20 minutes, because I just get excited and derailed. Okay, so toxicities and deficiencies can interfere with our muscle testing, as well as bodily functions, because we're energetic beings. Now, hydration. If you're dehydrated, that's also going to interrupt your bodily energetic systems and therefore your muscle testing. Here's one that I was like, because those two, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, we're energetic beings. Like, it is what it is. Like, of course, we need to have water to help us stay conductive, and minerals, and like literally metals, like, you know, whatever. Hey, Beth. So those things made sense to me. But the one thing that I was like, say what now? Say what? That was actually polarity. Now, y'all are maybe familiar with magnets. I don't think I have any right here. Oh, I do. But they're not going to be fun magnets. They're just little ones. So, with magnets, we have polarity, right? There's a north side and a south side. And the north side is attracted to the south side. And when you try and put two together, like north to north or south to south, there's a resistance. They're not happy. They don't want to be happy magnets. They want to resist, right? We also have that polarity. And as I dug into things, as I do, for this little talk, I discovered, we got our little north-south connection here. What I discovered is that polarity actually helps determine how our body is arranged. So our energy from, conception on plays a crucial role in how our body gets put together, which is a little cray-cray. Also, though, so like it's kind of a measure, your polarity is kind of a measure for your health. Because if your energy's out of whack, your polarity is off, you're constantly in resistance, right? Instead of being attracted to things, when your polarity is correct, you are attracted to things that are good for you. When your polarity is off, you are resistant to the things that are good for you. Yeah, you can't feel how it pushes away, but I know that you know. We've all played with magnets at one time or another. So, interestingly enough, I stumbled across another program's kind of teaching on polarity for horses, and I read it, and I was like, yeah, okay, sure. I was resistant to accepting it. I have no problem admitting that, because it was more than what I had been taught in the emotion code, which the emotion code is basically like, it's going to throw off your muscle testing, and your energies are off, but it's really quick to assess if that's the issue, and if it is, we can just put it right back. They didn't really talk about the symptoms that go along with this issue. So in this program for horses, where they talked about polarity, they talked about symptoms. And I was like, I have never noticed that. I've never even really had a polarity issue. Because one of the things we do when we're muscle testing horses is like, if you're getting confusing answers or conflicting answers, we ask, like, is the polarity off? Are you good? But I, like, that's it. And it's never been a really big deal. It's never been super obvious. There haven't been any huge problems that I've noticed. When this happens, it's just like, okay, well, we're just going to reset your polarity and it's all good. But it doesn't even happen often. I haven't run into it often. So I didn't really think much of it when I came across it in this program. Fast forward, as things do. I was studying polarity a while back, just out of curiosity, because I'm stubborn and things come to mind and whatever. So I'm like going down this hole, and I discovered something called polarity therapy. And at the time I was like, what is this? And I didn't really dig too much into it. But that's usually how things are, right? When we're learning things and when we're curious about things, we get breadcrumbs. And at one point, your breadcrumb is going to be like, yeah, whatever, I don't need that crumb. And then later you're going to be like, oh, I saw a breadcrumb over there. I'm going to go pick that up. So I went back to that breadcrumb of polarity therapy. And guess what I found? Crazily, I found the deeper explanation and the premise of what this program for horses was talking about with polarity. And that is essentially aligning our energy systems within our body. Okay, so we have points here just inside our shoulders, just inside our hips, and then two that are closer together inside underneath our ribs. these same points duplicate on our back. Okay, so if they're just inside my shoulders here, they're going to be just up inside my shoulders in the back. Just below my ribs, same spot on the back. Okay, just inside my hips, just outside your like hip bone, sacrum, just outside the sacrum, just outside the sacrum, inside the hip bones on the back. Guess what? It's in the same shape on the horses. So on the horses, we have 2 spots above their ears, 2 spots under their mandible, 2 spots just behind the shoulder on top, 2 spots just under in the armpit area, like on the inside, more like on the rib cage, but kind of close to the armpits. And then in the back, on the lumbar, so same as where you'd find it on the person, a little bit in front of the sacrum there on either side, and then same underneath inside those back legs. What is the significance here? Well, friends, you know what our magnets, I keep putting them back. I should never put them back. Like, I'm pretty sure I do this with all the time when I show you guys stuff. So you remember how our magnets have north and south, right? And south to south isn't good, but north to south is good, right? So your north side is the up. So on the horses, the north is the top, and the south is the bottom. That just makes sense, doesn't it? Well, when their polarity is out of whack, one of these points on the top and one of these points on the bottom is going to be reversed. And how does that happen? All right, well, lots of things can happen. Trauma specifically, physical trauma, emotional trauma, hard things. I've also read in people that it can be flying on an airplane can really fuck some people up, right? Everybody's different. What affects one person might not affect another. But again, we come back to nutrition as well. What you've got going on nutritionally, toxicity, deficiencies, those kinds of things. So here's where the story comes in. Let's just go to story time. Let's go straight to story time. So that's kind of our basic understanding of polarity, okay? One of your north spots could have the energy reverse and be acting more like a south spot and vice versa. And so that's going to F up the attraction set points in the body and where the energy is flowing and all those kinds of things, which is going to affect health. What's that going to look like? What's it going to look like? How's that going to affect health? Well, this is great. Okay, so again, this is where we come into story time. So for those of you that don't know, about a year ago, like literally like a year ago, I rescued a standardbred racehorse from a kill pen, one that I knew from my past life, from like 10 years ago. We aren't talking about actual past lives. Like 10 years ago, past job, past Margaret, was working with this horse. Fast forward last year, saw him in a kill pen, made a rescue effort, brought him home. He did pretty well through winter. I would have liked to see him gain a little bit more weight. But, for everything that he'd been through and knowing that he was coming home right going into winter, being underweight and malnourished and having been through God only knows what, but he was in kind of rough shape, as they usually are. So I was thinking, in the spring, we're going to do his teeth. He's going to need his teeth done. Lord only knows the last time he had his teeth done, right? So my plan was to have his teeth done with my parents' dentist at their house. They always do it February, March. I coordinated with them. There were a lot of reasons why I was choosing to do it there instead of at my house. It's just going to be a better setup for a dentist. But anyway, so that hasn't happened still to this day, which is crazy to me because like they have never not had the dentist out, but it's just been a thing where the scheduling just hasn't worked out. Every time the dentist could show up, something came up so that we couldn't make it happen at the barn, right? So this has been a perpetual problem, and I feel like Lightning has kind of backslid a little bit through summer. Not horribly, like he's okay, but like I'm just not satisfied, right? As us horse moms usually aren't. So I'm getting frustrated and, just kind of feeling desperate. Like, what am I going to do for this horse? He needs to have his teeth done. This is definitely a nutrient absorption problem because I'm feeding him and it's not sticking, okay? So there's got to be nutrient absorption, which makes me think teeth. There's some other things that make me think he's got some stuff going on in his mouth. And we just haven't been able to coordinate schedules to make this kind of thing happen. Well, last 2 weeks ago, Lightning approached me for some energy work, so I went ahead and obliged him and did that for him. And then I had this, like, I'm going to do a full session. Sessions that I do for clients, I'm going to do a full equine energetic alignment session for him because he needs it. Like, this could be really helpful. Yeah, okay. Guys, this is what brought me back to polarity because I flipped open my little book here. It has, like, all the goods. All the goods that I like to test, things that kind of help me get my mind going. What could we possibly be dealing with, right? And I just happened to flip it open to this page on polarity. There's no circumstance. There's no coincidences, right? So I see this page on polarity and I'm like, and I test it and sure enough, his polarity is off. And that's when I went back and I read the symptoms, things you might see if your horse is got their polarity out of whack. You know what's funny? When I come back to this, all the information I ever wanted about it was here, like other places to get information and whatever, but I didn't see it at the time. It's funny, not funny. No coincidences. The breadcrumbs were there. Okay, let's see. Horses out of balance will not be able to assimilate the nutrients in their feeding program as well as they should, and they might be clumsy or accident prone. Being touched is uncomfortable for them. This could be the horse that stands alone in the pasture, not grooming with others, or the one that does not like being bathed or groomed. Do you know that Lightning hit all three of those things? He wasn't, he wasn't absorbing his nutrients well. He's a little clumsy. He drug his feet around, and sometimes he seemed off balance. And he does not like bodywork. He does not. And I've not met a horse that we didn't eventually get to the point where we like bodywork. And he just wasn't liking it. So you bet I dealt with his polarity issue. And the very next day, he's walking better. He seems more stable. He is more happy and engaging and hanging out with the other horses more. Are you flipping kidding me? Do you know that it has taken me this whole year? This is something that I should have done all the way back in the day. So, like when he came home, this is really, as soon as I had ownership of this horse, this is something I should have been doing because this is something that I don't have to be in their presence to do. Again, we use muscle testing to assess this, okay? So we can be assessing our horse's energy to determine their health levels. This is obviously way more than a 20-minute topic in our video today, okay? So if this is something where you're like, have to have, must know, do, put a unicorn in the comments and I can get you a link. That's going to give you the link to set up an appointment through Calendly. So open up an appointment page, you can pick an appointment, and you can book an equine energetic alignment session for your horse. Otherwise, I think this is something that I'm going to dive into a little bit more next week. We're going to talk more about the actual how-to and potentially other energy systems too. We only have 20 minutes, right? So there you go. Drop me a unicorn, and I'll get you the link to an equine energetic alignment session, so you can book your appointment for your horse, so that you can get their energy straightened out, so that everything else is going to flow better, right? Because order of operations matters, and when we are doing things out of order, they're not going to be effective. This is the reason why I've been feeding him and things haven't been sticking. You know, it's been a week, and he's already starting to look like he's gaining weight. So even though I know this shit, even though this stuff has been in my radius, in my circumference, in my circle for years, I still have to be reminded sometimes that we get to take a step back. And this energy assessment stuff is not a joke. This energy stuff matters. So are all the meridians moving and functioning properly? Obviously polarity, like we've talked about, but also chakras. And that is something that I have done some work with previously. It was something that I'd seen some results with, is getting energy moving through chakras. But this story with Lightning has really highlighted for me the importance. And so this is something that you as horse owners can absolutely be doing. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It gets to be easy. So we'll dive more into this, I think, next week, and a little bit more of the how-to. But I wanted to kind of lay the base work and get an understanding. So drop that unicorn if you're looking for the link to get an equine energetic alignment session, or put your questions below. What questions do you have about equine energetic alignment? What questions do you have about the technicalities of the how-tos, or maybe even what we could potentially see as results from this. So whatever questions you have, put them in the comments here, and I will address them next week. So thank you guys so much for being here. I absolutely adore doing these Tuesday lives. But that is our 20 minutes for Tuesday Tales. So I will chat with y'all next Tuesday.